Next on Newsmax Prime, the Easter holiday offers no respite from the continuing feud between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. With things getting so personal, will we ever see a return to policy differences? Overseas, the open borders policy of the European Union has put citizens of those nations at risk. Armstrong Williams, just back from Europe, will talk about what he saw firsthand. Plus, has our own porous border contributed to an increase of TB in the USA? We'll ask health editor Nick Tate as Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening. Welcome to the Monday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, inquiring minds want to know, will the widening Republican rift lead the party to ruin in November? Presidential primaries are often tough, the GOP's 11th commandment notwithstanding. But an article in the National Enquirer alleging no fewer than 5 extramarital affairs involving Ted Cruz has really turned up the heat. Yesterday, Republican frontrunner Donald Trump appeared on ABC's This Week, denying he had anything to do with the National Enquirer story, but accusing Cruz of involvement with a super PAC ad that featured a photo of a nearly nude Melania Trump.
I had nothing to do whatsoever with the National Enquirer, and neither did the campaign. And I will tell you, for him to try and say that I had to do with it, try and put the shoe on the other foot is disgraceful. And by the way, he's the one that started it. From what I hear, somebody bought the rights to it, and he was the one, or his campaign bought the rights, and they gave it to the super PAC. And just so you understand, that super PAC is very friendly to Ted Cruz. He knew all about it 100%.
For his part, Ted Cruz appeared on Fox News Sunday, denying any involvement with the super PAC that used the provocative picture of Mrs. Trump in that ad, but countercharging that Donald Trump was directly attacking Heidi Cruz.
The ad they put out was deplorable, and as soon as I saw it, I denounced it and said it was wrong. But it wasn't us. You know what? There are a whole lot of people in America who disagree with Donald Trump, and he used that as an excuse. The fact that someone else who I don't know and have no involvement with used a deplorable ad, he used that as an excuse to go after my wife, Heidi, to go after my family, to attack her directly.
Senator Cruz also claimed that Mr. Trump was behind the article in the National Enquirer, and the senator called that article, quote, garbage. Now, joining us from Newsmax New York, the chief political correspondent for USA Radio Networks, Scottie Nell Hughes. Scottie's also a surrogate for the Donald Trump campaign. And Skyping in from Iowa, we're pleased to be joined by Bob Vander Plaats. Bob's the president and CEO of the Family Leader. He endorsed Senator Cruz just prior to the Iowa caucuses. To you both, our thanks tonight for your time on Newsmax Prime. And Scottie, Donald Trump may have done very well or continues to do well with women in the Republican primaries, but there is concern that that could change now. We understand by some reports Republicans are in a state of panic because he is losing his support among women. Your take on that, is it true or is it getting blown out of proportion?
Well, I think the actual phrase being used is less favorable, but that does not mean not voting for when it comes to the actual general election and going up against probably Hillary Clinton. You know, as much as women want to sit there and say, well, I don't necessarily like what Mr. Trump is saying, those same GOP women will probably end up voting for him in the end, especially if they have to go up against somebody like a Hillary Clinton on the Democrat side. Talk about a problem that the Democrats are having, which is actually a lot larger than the Republicans are. They don't like him whether she's a Republican or a male or a female. Democrats actually have a bigger circus on their hands, yet we continue to focus here on the Republican Party and the trouble that we're having for some reason.
Well, Scottie Nell, the focus continues because we kind of lean over to the right here to talk about these issues to get a right take on things. Now, there are some consultants, and I realize consultants aren't guys exactly popular these days, but they say Donald Trump may have made a fatal mistake by attacking Heidi Cruz because they think more women identify with Heidi than they do with Melania. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, I have a lot of respect for both women, and I know Heidi very, very well, and she is an amazingly accomplished woman, and I respect her a lot. And there is a lot of truth to that, but at the same time, I think everybody, regardless of what your gender is getting pretty tired from both camps, from both the Cruz and the Trump camps of focusing on this. When we have major issues like national security, the economy, and other things that need to be focused on, rather than this kind of middle school drama antics where it's he said, she said, he started, she started, that really just don't do any good for the GOP or for any of the country as a whole.
Bob, Senator Cruz, of course, vehemently denied that report in the National Enquirer. Do you think that is going to impact his support from evangelicals and other faith-based voters?
I think it'll impact it in a positive way because they see what it is. It's completely beyond the pale. No one believes this. Senator Cruz, everyone knows, is a man of high integrity who's very committed to his wife Heidi as well to his daughters. So everybody sees what it is. I wish Mr. Trump would take a clue from Scottie, who's representing him today, about let's keep it focused on the issues, whether it's national security, the things that are going on in Brussels, foreign policy, domestic policy, whatever the issues are. But to get into this and a total disregard for women, whether it be Megyn Kelly, whether it be Heidi Cruz, whether even putting his wife in a nude photo on his airplane and then saying, but no one should be able to see it or use it. I mean, he has a complete disregard for women. And to say that women will vote for him because they don't like Hillary Clinton, I think that's a false hope in a general election. I think the American voters are seeing through that and why they're siding with Ted Cruz.
So this treatment that Trump uses concerning women is an issue, and not only here on this program for debate, it's a topic on which he was grilled by Charlie Sykes, a conservative radio host at WTMJ Milwaukee, especially when Donald Trump refused to apologize about the picture of Heidi Cruz he retweeted. But Mr. Trump did not back down in his claims of exemplary treatment of women. Let's watch and listen.
Mr. Trump, you do like to talk about polls a lot, and the recent polls suggest that you have a disapproval rating of about 70% among women, and in southeastern Wisconsin, you are very much underwater, and a lot of that has to do, let's be honest about this, with conservative women who are repelled by your attitude and your treatment of women.
You go back and forth. I don't think there should be a double standard if somebody's a woman, but I can tell you this, Charlie, I have been better to women than any of these candidates, frankly.
Except you won't apologize to a woman that you mocked.
People have said, in terms of breaking the glass ceiling, that I was a leader in it.
Well, Charlie Sykes added that he believes Donald Trump was acting like a schoolyard bully. Scottie, that was a pretty tough interview, but is it a fair criticism of Mr. Trump?
Well, when you actually look at his actions, which I think that is why the majority of people look at Mr. Trump, not necessarily the words, because everybody finds some fault in probably something their candidate has said at some point. But when you look at his actions, he has advanced more women to the top level of his management of his companies. If you look out there, even on the campaign trail, there are more female staffers leading his campaign, speaking on behalf of Mr. Trump than any of the other candidates. And he's tried. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. It's whether he's going to respect you and respect what you're saying, and it doesn't matter what your gender might be. And I think that right there is resonant. You want to talk about a glass ceiling? Don't hire me just because I'm a female. Don't hire me just because I look good in heels. Hire me because of what I'm saying. And I think that's the kind of attitude he has. And while he's very chivalrous, as both men are with their wives lately, I think it speaks pretty much volumes that he doesn't necessarily look at people and give them preferential treatment, whether positive or negative, based on their gender.
Let's take a look way out west. A new USC LA Times poll shows the gap narrowing in California, with the California Republican primary some 3 months away. Donald Trump leads with 37% of the vote, Ted Cruz at 30%, John Kasich trails at 12%. But that poll also indicates among the voters most likely to turn out, the race between Trump and Cruz is nearly tied. So if there is low voter turnout in that June 7th primary, it could hurt Trump and boost Cruz. Do you agree with that scenario, Bob Vander Plaats?
Well, I really do. And you're going to see all the polls shift, especially on voting day. You think you see it beginning a week from Tuesday in Wisconsin, because people are just basically tired of Mr. Trump's mistreatment about every demographic that our society has, and in particular women. To say, let's look at his actions, I think you should look at his actions. Well, how did he reference Carly Fiorina and her looks? How did he reference Megyn Kelly and her bodily cycle? How did he reference Heidi Cruz in a tweet? How did he reference his own wife in a nude photograph on his jet for GQ magazine? I guarantee you the American population has a higher standard, a higher bar for who gets to be president of the United States. And I don't think you're going to get there by insulting women that way.
Let me turn to you, Scottie Nell. The situation in California. The Donald, by and large, has been able to hang on in these major states. Do you see it changing between now and June 7th?
Well, it's always concerning, obviously, when you see polls starting to tighten. But Bob is right. They will do that. They always do for every state. But you also have to look at some of the things that he did in context. And you can't just sit there and pull out specifics. That's something that the liberals and the left do. They just pull out specific reasons and don't give what is around it. When you look at this picture from GQ, it was before Mr. Trump was running for president. And guess what? This was Melania's choice. It's not like he forced her to do it. This was her choice. She was running her own business. She was being her own successful model, something she'd been since she was age 5. Why? If he would have said, no, you cannot do this, or you must be forced to do this, then I would say, you know what, you have a right there to show. But no, he was being supportive of his wife, which I think is what the modern day feminist is all about. Correct, Bob?
I think you're right, but I do think then why should Mr. Trump be offended by the use of that photo by anybody? And even though Senator Cruz
it was a context.
That was his campaign. He'd never used it. Matter of fact, he even denounced the use of that photograph in the ad that was used by the super PAC. But I think when you take a look when he is running for president. But that's the question.
It was the context of how it was used. I don't think he's upset with that it was being used.
I appreciate the discussion.
When you take a look at him running for president, Carly Fiorina's when he's running for president, Megyn Kelly's when he's running for president, the recent tweet and retweet of Heidi Cruz is while he's running for president. This shows a lack of judgment and temperament. I like you a lot, Scottie, and I just think even you would have a higher standard for someone to be president of the United States in regards to these type of actions.
Folks, let me get in here because there's another issue we have to discuss, and I appreciate the give and take on this, but actually policy and a real threat. What we saw happen on Good Friday in Yemen, Father Tom, a Catholic priest, crucified. Now, it seems we're caught up. I don't mean to say that relationships are trivial among spouses, but when you have this kind of horror, are we going to get back to talking about the issues? 15 seconds to you each. First to you, Scottie Nell.
This broke my heart, JD. I first found out about this going to happen on Wednesday. I pulled the story down off my own website because it was such a rumor. Why did the Christians why weren't we united in making the voice of it? And the Catholic Church still has not come out and said this 100% has happened. This falls on us Christians right here. This is why people are angry and worried about our country and our nation, is because Christians are under attack, and it showed up yesterday or on Friday in this crucifixion.
I am sorry to say a 4-letter word intervenes, Bob. That word is time. We'll have you both back again soon. That'll do it for this segment. Back with more after this.